Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to be looking at this book. So this is Dorothea Lange, the photographer who found the faces of the Depression. So the author of this is Carole Boston Weatherford, and the pictures are by Sarah Green. So this book is about Dorothea Lange, if you couldn't tell. She was a photographer during the Great Depression. Again, have we caught not from the title here. So she kind of starts out, she always kind of identified with people who were poor because she had polio, and so she walked with a limp as a child. And once she got older, her legs obviously got stronger, and she learned to become invisible and started observing people. And she wasn't actually very good in school. She skipped school. She didn't like being told what to do. She barely graduated, but she aimed to be a photographer. So she went to teacher training school, pretty common at this time. This time period, nurses, teachers, secretaries. That was pretty much all most women could do. Being a photographer was a little unusual, but again, she could work for herself. So she ended up working part-time at a fashionable Fifth Avenue portrait studio. Then she went cross-country. They got robbed in San Francisco. She wound up working in a department store's photo finishing center, and then she opened her own studio. And this is the Roaring 20s. So this is the jazz age. So her studio became a interesting artist location. So she got married, and Maynard Dixon, he was an artist, but the marriage was doomed because of money, and his painting trips left her home juggling photography and housework and childcare. So she photographed a picture of a daisy her son gave her, but she wanted to go beyond. So she saw, this is the Great Depression, so this is the 1920s. So she saw the Depression outside her window, people looking for food, still dressed in their suits, and she started photographing them. She tried photographing nature, but she wasn't as interested, so she started photographing people. She started photographing Skid Row in San Francisco, and this brought her to the attention of an economics professor by the name of Paul Taylor. He was drawn to her street photos that he saw in an Oakland gallery, and he invited her to do his field work. So he was interviewing subjects who were being affected by the Great Depression. So they were kindred spirits, which reminds you, of course, of Anne of Green Gables, which my videos on that should be showing now. Want to check those out. She started jotting down quotes and field notes and pairing them with her images and captions of photo essays. She became a storyteller. So these are illustrations of some of her photographers. She was talking to ex-slaves in Alabama, sharecroppers in the South, migrant workers in the West, people who were part of world poverty programs. And later, during World War II, she photographed Japanese Americans in internment camps. She was constantly watching the world, and she would photograph children who were automatically attracted to her big camera. I mean, this isn't a small camera. As you can see in the images, we're not talking like our phone cameras or even my handheld camera, which is around here somewhere. But big, giant, old cameras that she had to set up with a tripod. And then she would learn about these kids' parents. And then she went to a migrant camp that was being packed up because rains had destroyed the pea crop and there was no work. And she interacted with a family who had fled the dust storms in Oklahoma looking for farm laborers. And she took pictures of them. A woman who was looked old, so many lines in her face, she looked older than her 32 years. And it ended up in the newspaper. and the government sent money. So she turned, basically the woman's name was Florence Owens Thompson, a full-blooded Cherokee, became the face of the Great Depression, and the nation couldn't look away. So this is the actual photograph here of the woman. And so that's kind of in. It's a very interesting book. Of course, it has a whole long detailed thing in the back, as these books tend to do, on the life of Dorothea Lange. And let's see. Yeah, she did Japanese American. She died in 65. And was inducted into the International Photography Hall of Fame in Museum in 1984, which is my birth year. So she was the first woman to be awarded the coveted Gingham Fellowship. And during World War II, the Office of War Information hired her to photograph the forced evacuation and incarceration of Japanese Americans. So, and she documented the San Francisco conference that created the United Nations, which I didn't realize happened in San Francisco. But again, this is a great introductory book to an amazing woman who, again, she was at the beginning of photography. She was a trailblazer as a woman. She was a photographer in a time where, again, most women were secretaries, teachers, nurses. That's the three main things that they did. And yes, during World War II, they were going into the workforce doing harder work. But again, afterwards, remember the 1950s, they were being told, okay, the war's over. You're taking men's jobs. Go back and be housewives again. And of course, women's revolution. But this woman did a lot of work and made the world notice the Great Depression, which was horrible. Even more horrible was, again, the Japanese internment camps. I will cover that at some point. Maybe next year. I do cover Asian American History Month 2 months from now. This is March. I'm filming this at the end of August. I'm covering Angel Island in March. That's again, San Francisco. That's the Ellis Island of the West, only not. But we'll read more about that in a couple of months. So that's the end of this review. Fantastic book. Definitely elementary age. Great introduction to an amazing woman. Not only women's history, but also the history of photography. You can also look at this book if you're touching on the Great Depression, because that's really where she got her start. But again, photography, women's history, the Great Depression. It's a great introduction to this woman and a part of these eras of history, including the Japanese internment camps, because you may be studying that and run across her photographs. So it's like, who is this woman who's taking photographs in the 1940s? So, but if you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I am covering women's history this March. I have covered Irish history in the past. You can check out those videos. I did cover African American history last month. I'm covering the Titanic next month. Then as I said, I'm covering Angel Island and Asian history in May. I'm covering Ellis Island and the immigration from the East in June. Then I think I've been mixing this up in other videos. I think in July I'm covering food, and then August I'm doing women inventors. They may be switched. September I'm doing a deep dive into Beauty and the Beast. If you want to know what that looks like, look at my Cinderella playlist, because that's very similar to what I will be doing with Beauty and the Beast, where I'll look at the original story that Disney based its both animation and the live action. And yes, I've seen the live action far too many times. My daughter is 4. By the time you guys see this, she will almost be 4.5. She is currently obsessed with Belle and likes the live action because the Beast is scary. So again, she's 4. She's very much into princesses right now because 4. Moving on. And then we'll be I'm going to cover space in October. I have covered spooky stuff before. There's just a limited amount of spooky stuff. You can check out my playlists for that. November, now I have covered Native American history. Again, there's limited stuff that I can cover. So instead, I'm going to switch to a different type of Indian, and we're going to be covering the Hindu festival of Diwali. And then I'm doing mysteries in December, because why not? It's supposed to be cold. God, I hope it's cold. Again, it's August in Arizona. It was like 114 today. I'm so sick of the heat. I'm so sick of the heat. It's fine. Hopefully by the time you guys see this, it will be cooling down. And I will be dreading the coming of spring. But that's really it. I am doing, obviously, Anne of Green Gables is I'm covering that series. I'm doing Boxcar Children and Wings of Fire. I previously covered this year Animorphs, and then the Catherine Lasky's Bears of the Ice. And yes, I did cover the Guardians of Ga'Hoole, if you're familiar with the story, and the Wolves of Beyond. Those were just done. I don't know if these guys are popping up now or something else. I just did the Princess Diaries last year, as well as a few other things. You can check out various things of my series. So check out what I've already got. I have a lot of videos. Look forward to more reviews coming soon. Thank you.